I'm joined on the Guardian sofa here in Cannes by Adam Alter, who is Assistant Professor of Marketing at New York University, and his new book is Drunk Tank Pink, which is out in the US but comes out in the UK in September. Adam, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, John.
First up, Drunk Tank Pink.
Yes.
I like it, but what does it mean?
Drunk tank pink is a colour that psychologists used to use to paint the inside of drunk tanks or jail cells. And they found that this very bright bubblegum pink colour calmed down the prisoners. So it got the name Drunk Tank Pink, and it's now been used in classrooms to pacify students, in visiting locker rooms to pacify opponents that teams are playing when they're playing sports. So it's got quite a lot of use now, but it started out being this colour that was used in drunk tanks, and that's where it got the name.
And this is the idea that the environment around us affects the way we behave, and you've taken that idea from one colour and one jail cell, probably quite a few jail cells, and you've taken it all over the place. So you've looked at names. Give us an idea of the different kind of environments and how they affect us.
Yeah, sure. So I break the book down into 3 different worlds, starting with the world within us. These are the sorts of small cues that reside in our heads, things like names, the labels that we give things, the words that we use to describe them, the images that we associate with them, symbols, things like that. All of that stuff resides in our heads, and it's the small, narrow cues, and they all influence us in certain ways.
Well, let's start there. So names. Yeah. How does your name? Give us an example of how a name affects how you behave and maybe how you grow up and what job you do.
Well, your name, John, is a common name. It's pretty. Many people share it. It's a frequently occurring name in a lot of English-speaking countries, and it turns out that that's a very good thing, and that we've shown that when people have names that are fluent or easy to pronounce, they're more likely to rise up various hierarchies at work more quickly. So lawyers in the middle part of their careers are more likely to be partners in firms if they have simple names rather than complex names. So that's just one example. The same is true. You can use names, the fact that people are attracted to their names, to encourage them to donate more to hurricane charities. So if you name a hurricane with a name that matches their first initial, so for you, Hurricane James, for example, you would be more likely to donate to the hurricane relief aid for that charity.
And so I make this kind of subliminal link between, the fact I just like the sound of a J.
You just like the sound of a J because you've associated with your name, and therefore it's easy to pronounce and it's appealing, and that changes how you behave. So that's the first world, the narrow world, the world within us. Then a little bit more broadly, there's the world between us, the social world. And I talk there about the presence of other people. If you're in competition, should you imagine 1 competitor or 10 if you want to do better? And it turns out that imagining a smaller set of competitors or actually competing against a smaller set leads you to do better.
I'm slightly worried that you're giving advertisers even more power to influence their behaviour than they already have. But how do you relate these kind of findings to the ad industry?
Yeah, well, I've mentioned twice the pro-social side. So I've mentioned the fact that you can extract more in charitable aid campaigns using these techniques. So that's one of the very big ethical hurdles that we face is you can use this stuff for the good or for the bad, and the trick is to always, I think, or as much as possible, use it for the good. You don't want to encourage people to buy things that they absolutely don't need, and you want to ultimately you'd hope that what they're buying makes them feel better, makes them happier. They'll ultimately continue to buy, and so I think that works to everyone's benefit.
So let's take a look around us now. I know it's not the most colourful studio, but as it turns out, we're both colourblind. That's not such a bad thing.
That's true.
But what vibes are we getting off this grey sofa and the multicoloured cushions?
Well, both of us can't see the colours on these pillows, but I imagine that they're very pretty. But anyway, that aside, there's a very sort of modern, plain, spare vibe here, which I think is generally quite good. It's associated with fluency and ease, and I think that's probably a good thing. What else are we getting? There isn't a whole lot to work on, but I do see something that approximates Drunk Tank Pink, so perhaps we've been pacified.
Yeah. Well, and there's the red there as well. Red seems to me like a winning colour.
Red's a winning colour. Olympic competitors, when they're randomly drawn, when they are in combat sports, they're randomly drawn to wear either red or blue. And when they get red, they do better. They win about 65% of bouts when they're evenly matched. So red is a winning colour. It's also a winning colour in dating. So if you go on an online dating site and you put up a profile of yourself with a red shirt, you're much more likely to attract hits than you are if you wear any of these other colours here.
And Lance Armstrong, good example of a man who sort of, till more recent difficulties, pursued the life sort of forecast by his surname. And you're Adam Alter.
Yes.
And you're trying to change people's behaviour. So that was written in the stars.
That's right, absolutely. And Usain Bolt is not a slow man. Same thing. Yeah, it's surprisingly common, these things called aptronyms, when names seem to be associated with the life outcomes.
Okay, Adam Alter, thank you very much.
Thanks, John.